Hey everybody, how you doing? Hope everyone is having a good Saturday. Looks like we made it, and great to see Mr. Patrick, Clutch, and Steve. Great to see you both guys here. That's fantastic. So, I know I was going to work on another project, but I still had some work to do on this. Hey Seuss, how you doing? Good to see you. And so I just wanted to push this painting of Katya a little further, maybe work a little bit on some of the background, how I'm going to decide to do that with pastel pencils. It's probably going to be interesting. Hey John, how you doing? Mr. John Payne, good to see you. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the background just yet, but I may come in with regular pastels for the background. So let me see if I could do that. And so I have my pastels here. Put my pastels right here. And my pastel palette. Uh-oh. Okay, that's some cleanup I gotta do after this. Okay, so we have this background, and what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much start working the background. So I want to try a light color, so I'm thinking this Naples yellow kind of color. Let's see how that goes. And so this is pastel by a company called Art Spectrum. Art Spectrum's a really good company. They're out of Australia. Their pastels I would consider a hard to soft pastel, much like the Rembrandt brand. And what you see now, I'm just going to quickly do one layer, you know. Jesus says if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. That's funny. And we're just gonna push this over. And so I don't want to go crazy with the background. I want to keep it light, but I also want to keep it within the family of the colors of Katya here. So that's why I'm choosing this kind of Naples yellow color. So basically I just want to have coverage right now, and then what I'll do is I'll do another layer of pastel, and then I'll just start blending that in. Now, since this is on my table so I can show everybody, I'm going to blow up the pastel off. I don't want to put that all over my table where I do the airbrush as well, right? So I'm just going to take a little bit more of this Naples yellow. I want to give it a real generous coat. This is also a newer edition of Art Spectrum Naples Yellow. Colette, how you doing? Great to see you. I'm just perfecting this piece, Colette. I want to make it perfect. I want to make her perfect. And what I'm going to do is I am going to take this, which is a company called New Pastel, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rub a layer of this on here, so when I do go ahead and blend it, it'll be a really nice light color that isn't adversely affecting you know, the attention we're putting on Katya. Ah, thank you. So Mr. John says she's looking good. I appreciate that. And so that's so cool. Jesus says bracket game got a break, so who knows when it will restart again. So what's the bracket game, sir? This right here, this is a company called New Pastel, and they're really inexpensive, and they're a nice, again, another medium hard pastel. They're a little bit harder than the credit colors, a little bit harder than the pastel pencils. Let me, blowing off that pastel off screen, so definitely don't want to make a mess of the studio. More packing peanuts. Now I wouldn't usually use packing peanuts, but for the sake of teaching, I will. So now I can take this. Oh, elimination in softball. Oh wow. Now that's for your daughter, right? Oh boy. I hope they bring it back. Oh, so when do they play? Guacamole Cheetos. That is so true, Patrick. Again, I'm just going to blow off the excess pastel. I don't want it on my table. And so don't feel bad to just pick up a fresh one if it gets overloaded. Just make sure you don't mix it with the hair or the skin. Just keep it as clean as possible, guys. That's true. One bad game, it's over. Yeah, sudden death does stink, right? Especially if you play a whole season, you have one bad game. I agree, Patrick. That's why football is so hard to win a Super Bowl. We'll just continue this. Oh, you can't see that, what I was doing. I'm doing little circular movements, which is good, and kind of getting rid of the textures. I'll worry about the little detail areas later. Now I just want to get that overall feel. And I want to make sure I don't dirty the colors by blending the hair into the background, because her hair is dark. But I'm getting a nice even tone here, which is really nice. And then I can just come over here and start, maybe that's too not yellow, and let's take this and let's start evening some of the areas and the negative spaces of the hair. See that? Just kind of evening things out. Thanks. Yes, definitely. Don't forget to hit this subscribe button, guys, and the like button. I appreciate that. So Colette says, why did you choose hard pastel over soft pastel for the background? Well, always good question, very good question, because initial layers always have to be hard pastel, because, you know, in case you want to do subsequent layers, at least you have a hard pastel. If you went the other way and did a soft pastel and then tried to go more hard, you would actually have it difficult to cover. In pastel, you always have to go hard to soft, and so this way you get that smooth coverage. Great question, Colette. And so now you can see I'm just sort of evening out those values in the background. And Patrick said he just learned something. That's cool. That's what it's all about. That's why I do these live streams on a Saturday evening when, you know, most people are kind of relaxing and everything. So it's a great opportunity to do a live stream for when everyone's home and taking it easy. So I really love doing these pastel live streams. I just started the pastel live streams probably like a month ago, and I mean, it's not like a lot of people come, but the people who do show up, you know, they really enjoy it. You guys really enjoy it, and that's what makes me really excited about them. And then I'm going to take something that's quite interesting, and this is a triangle. These are, you'll find these at like Hobby Lobby. They're like the blank door, you know, the kids use. They're made out of foam, and they can design it. It goes over the doorknob, says "Do not disturb," that sort of thing. And used to be at AC Moore a lot. Now you see them, they're harder to find, but they're kind of like I think 1/8 of an inch, but it allows me to really get in there and get like real tight detail. Good thing is you can take these with a scissors, as long as you find my scissors, which these will do. And you can actually cut these into a point. So let's say you wanted to really get in there, you can, and blend that in. And they're really good for that. Hey Rick, how you doing? And so Rick says, wondering if your precision with airbrush crosses over pastels, and does pastel free your creativity more or less? Actually, they're all connected. Rick, good to see you. Oh, thank you, thank you. Basically, I started doing airbrush to do underpaintings for my pastels, and I kind of fell in love with airbrush, and then I kind of decided to do airbrush as its own entity. And What I do like about pastels, as opposed to just doing airbrush alone, which I do love, is that it frees me with color. Because when working in color and pastel, you are much freer than if you were working in color and doing airbrush. Because, you know, in airbrush you have to pretty much stay within a certain palette, but in pastels I can come in and put a little hint of green somewhere, or, you know, just like that. I could come in with a thick soft pastel. So there's a lot of color freedom that I think is more than other mediums. Great question there, Rick. And Jesus says, ain't those used for making nylon, Tim, to make alterations? No, these guys they're like door hangers. Let me see if I have one. See, this is where you get it, and they're for kids, and they go on doorknobs, and the kids can design it, say get out, no sisters allowed, stuff like that. And so I've been using them for about 20 years to blend, and they're really great for blending pastels, you know. Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I love the airbrush, and I think there's, yeah, the pastels and airbrush are very similar, guys. If you love one, you definitely will love the other, because they really go together. I mean, if any two mediums on this earth goes together, I really feel it's airbrush and pastel. When I start next week's lesson, or next week's painting, I'm going to start it with an airbrush underpainting. So we'll see exactly how they come together, everybody. And we got to be careful that we don't blend them and get them muddy, right? So if you do accidentally blend them, don't continue blending, just erase it. That would be much better. See, now I feel like I established the background, and that was, you know, my intent, and I'm happy about that. And if ever there's an area where I feel like is too dark with the yellow, I'll just come in with a lighter yellow color by New Pastel. Kind of regulate that. Like right here, see how that's super yellow, super dark? Just bring that in line. Just like so. Let's see. Okay, so basically I just established that. Now I can come back in with some of the pastel pencils and work on some of these hairs. Okay, so we'll just continue kind of working on these edges here. This is kind of like the cleanup episode. Just cleaning up the edges, making everything really start to go forward and move back, that sort of thing. Colette says, Tim, what do you think you do if you blow the pastel dust off and spit on your work? Oh, you just let it dry, right? So let's say you accidentally spill water on it. Right? Let's say, come on. See that? Let me see. I spilled some water right there. See if I can lighten it. See how I spilled some water right there? Now the trick is to just let it dry, and then you could work on it from there. So don't go and rub it or anything like that. Just let it dry and you'll be okay. That's the important thing. Like anything, if anything happens, always stop. But over the years of me doing this, I know that it's no problem. Even if I have a little bit of, you know, like a little drop, like right there, I know that if I just leave it alone, it'll dry, and I may have to do some touch up here and there, but no problem, you know. So what about different brands, Jesus says. So in what respect, as far as different brands, Jesus, you know, how they work, that sort of thing? You know, what are they used for and for when? That's a good question. I don't like the Went too much. I feel their pastel pencils are kind of fat. So I really don't like it. Now if this was paper, get worried, but this is wood panel with my marble dust mixture, so I'm not worried. Hey Mr. Leahy, how you doing? So Mr. Leahy said he had someone accidentally spit on a gouache painting once, had to repaint the entire background. Yeah, well that's a whole different ball game because gouache reactivates, right? And this will have a reaction, but it's something I definitely can handle. So right now it's just sitting there beating on the surface, but I'm just totally not worried. And you know, just I've done this so many times, you know, I kind of know what to expect before it happens. Yeah, like if it was a watercolor painting, that would be totally like, you know, DEFCON 5, right? So now it's time to make some of these edges nicer, you know. So thanks for stopping by, Mr. Leahy. How's everything going, sir? How's the family? How's your son with his newlywed wife? I'm sure he's very happy. Jesus says he's seen Gioconda, but the price is scary, $69. You don't have to go that expensive. You definitely, you know, if you're starting out, you want to start out with the Pit Pastels, the Pastel Carré by Cretacolor, and maybe a set of 60 by Rembrandt, and you should be really fine. So you don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get started with pastel. And the great thing with pastel, it's just cumulative. You can just pick up a pastel stick here and there when you're at the art store, and that's always great. Always add one when you have an order at Blick or something like that. That's always good to do. So it's something that is accumulative. I have countless pastels, but I've been painting in pastels since I was 15. But if I was to buy the pastels I have now, I'd have to, you know, take out a mortgage or something. But that's cumulative. To start, you don't have to go crazy. So now you see that sitting there. I'm just gonna dab it, right? And you see there's no adverse side effects of that water. Nothing whatsoever. So it wasn't like I had to like rush and undo that or anything like that. I'm gonna just start hitting some of these dark highlights in her hair. Dark accents, I should say. And I'm using the Credit Color Pastel Curé Black. Hey, Mr. Diekman, great to see you, sir. How are you? Thanks for checking up on me that last week. I appreciate that so much. Ooh, we have some right here, sort of a golden color that's in here. It's kind of picking up. Maybe even a lighter kind of orangey color right in here. Same thing right in here. Kind of an orangey sheen here, which is nice. Right on the edge there. Hey, Sorasit, how you doing? Long time no see, my friend. So glad you're here. How you been? And let's see if I can sharpen this a little bit. I don't think I'll use the old-fashioned way, which is a razor blade. Okay, so we'll just sharpen this into my garbage. Okay, so let's see, right over here, bring this down. Because it has this nice kind of orangey color, which is really nice. The hair, see, the hair is translucent and may be that dark brown color or maybe close to black, but against a light background it's translucent, so that dark brown kind of becomes an orange because you have the brown and yellow kind of makes an orange. So that's pretty much how that goes. David, how's it going, sir? Good to see you. So glad you're here, my friend. I just saw you. So I have that orangey color. Let's come in with a nice yellow. Maybe even a brighter yellow, huh? Let's see. Let's see. Or gray would work because it reacts with that. See how it reacts? You'd be surprised how gray will react with colors, a light gray. Okay, we'll move up here. And we can even get lighter with this. Sort of build it up, you know? So I'm going to be looking for, I'm going to look for that really nice yellowy white. Now, can I find it? That's the question. Yep, here it is. Okay. Nope, that's green. Okay. There we go. Alright, so now I can really hit these highlights in her hair. See that, and get some of the direction. Come back in with that yellow and really work this in. And I can zoom out. Let's see. Okay. See, we kind of set it up just like we do when we're working in Airbrush, right? Kind of plow the field. Then we kind of hit where that light is building up. Oh yeah, I hope you do, my friend. Definitely. Oh, Mr. Leahy's doing well, still getting back in the swing of things here in Ohio. Everyone back east is doing well. That's great to hear, sir. Definitely. Glad you're getting back in the swing of things, and, you know, that's good to see. With her hair, you can get real impressionistic. But remember, always do the 1 second rule and you can get as artistic as you want. So if I zoom out, you can see now there's like more volume in her hair there, right? And that's what we're looking for. Over here we have this nice beautiful deep dark, so we'll pull this in. Now we can come back in with our packing peanut. The trick is when you're painting, never ever 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 think about finishing it, okay? Don't worry about finishing it. That should not even be in your thought. Just continue working. Keep making it better. Don't fall in that trap, of wanting to finish it. You know when it's going to be done? When it's over. So don't worry about it. Yeah, that'll take care of itself. Look how rich and dark I'm getting those blacks. Thank you so much, Colette. That means the world to me. Thank you. So now you want to assimilate that color, right? So we're going to come back in with this reddish color. Let's see how that works. And we're just going to assimilate that. You don't want too many harsh transitions. You want things to be hard and soft. If you see they're too soft, too harsh like we have now, it's your job to soften them. Maybe a deeper orangey color here, kind of a terracotta. Get a couple more packing peanuts. Okay, so now I do like that terracotta, but I want a little bit of a richer terracotta color. I don't feel I'm locating it just yet. Let me see. Let's see. We'll put these over here. Let's see what this does. It's kind of like a dark red, but let's see if we could add this a little bit here. Let's do a little trick, shall we? Let's see. Do I have a trick up my sleeve? I think I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my medium mixture, or I can do one better, and I can take the medium mixture of my sepia mixtures. Let's see how this works. This is first time you guys are witnessing it, so good or bad, this is how it's going to go. So let's see here. And as you know, I like, the dry brush technique, especially my students know that. That's something I always always push that dry brush technique. So let's see, by using this technique, can we get some really nice hairs? Oh yeah, oh yeah. So definitely the sepia mixtures work extremely well. Look at that. And we could really go to town now. See that? Now things are starting to ramp up. Patrick is going to the front of the class. Very cool. So this worked really well. The medium mixture of the sepia color, and you could, now you might say, well, Tim, how is this going to affect your pastel? No effect whatsoever. You can actually go over this with pastel. How cool is that? And you create some really beautiful hard edges as well, which is nice. And the way that the pastels accepts the paint or the ink is that it lays on top of the surface, so it doesn't go underneath and basically just tints the pastel. So remember what I said earlier, that pastel is and airbrush actually go together better than any two mediums out there? I really mean it. It's like peanut butter and chocolate, you know? And so this is cool. So you're seeing this for the first time using my sepia mixtures for pastel. And you might say, Tim, is that good for detail in a portrait? So here we're going to find out, right? So again, you guys are finding out firsthand. So I don't want to smear this, but let's use this for the eye, okay? Let's see how this works together. Absolutely brilliantly. That one little hair coming out, look what I'm going to do. Goodbye. I got rid of it. So it works really well when you want to do detail, which is really fascinating. So I could even do the detail of this nostril if I was so inclined to do so. So I could, okay, so what are the advantages? In the later stages of the game, you can achieve hard edge that someone who doesn't, you know, venture to do this when they're a pastel pencil, a pastel painter, they're gonna miss out. Whoop. Hey Raul, how you doing? Good to see you. So this, what brush are you using? This is the Winsor & Newton Cotman 333 Rigger brush. I love that brush. It really is fantastic for details. So this is a brilliant technique where you could use the sepia mixtures with the pastels in the later stages of the game. And so such as that, such as doing hair and stuff like that, it really is great. Now this is the 333, the Cutman brush. It's also number 1, but also 333. It really does work well when you're doing detail because it has the long bristles. Oh, the 0 and the quadruple 0, those are good. So, you know, you'll find that, you know, you'll gravitate to what works for you guys. So notice when the water fell onto the pastel, right? But there's no problem whatsoever. So that's really cool. So if that happens, just remember it's no biggie. See how I can come in and, you know, do little hairs, some thin hairs, stuff like that. Now you may see some discoloration, and let me show you how to deal with that when you're using this technique, right? So let's zoom in. Now when I told you I was experimenting, I was just kidding. I've done that many years. I knew it was going to work. But let me show you right over here. There's a slight discoloration, right? You see that from the putting on the India ink, you know, the sepia mixture? All you gotta do is just take one of these packing peanuts, and you see you can put the pastels right over it. See that? As if it never happened. So yeah, you may get a difference in technique, but see what it does, it basically tints the pastel that's on the surface. So as we get to this stage, everything is really saturated with pastel, many layers of pastel. So you don't have an issue with that. So even right here, you see how it's darker, but if I go over it with pastel, bam, it's gone, as if it never existed. Same thing here. I could just come back in with pastel. I can go back over it. I mean, there's so much that you can do with these two techniques. Now, I do have the detail mixture in my airbrush, but this I'm going to experiment here. So I'm going to take my detail mixture and let's see how this goes. So you can see I can go ahead and airbrush over the pastel if I was so inclined to do so. Now let's go ahead and zoom in and see if we can use Blackbeard wheat to create a little bit more of an organic skin hair texture. Let's take a look. Yes, so it does work. It doesn't show up as much that if you were doing a, you know, black and white ink painting, but we can get a little bit of that texture by using the airbrush, which is really nice. So they are like sister arts. I really feel that. The airbrush and pastels. They really work well together. And thank you, Jesus. I appreciate that. And so Blackbeard wheat, yes. But you can also get this in a golden color. And I've seen them at Hobby Lobby. So that's something to really, really think about it. So I could use this to basically tint the pastel darker using my detail mixture. So this really works well. I could also use this as a freehand, I could use freehand shields to get real hard edges if I'm so inclined, or you're so inclined. So watch, I want to have that beautiful hard edge there. And I can achieve that now with the airbrush to help me. So right here, let's say, watch how this is kind of a mushy edge here. Let's see how this would work. So I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to do perpendicular and not parallel. And you see how we can create a hard edge. You see that? So all your knowledge of the airbrush is not for naught when it comes to working in pastel. So, you know, you work with me and you will learn how to use the airbrush and how that pertains to working in pastel, which is really amazing. Oh, okay. So what do you guys, so using it one time. So I'm not sure what you guys, but it's funny if you guys are laughing. So, let's see, where else can I show you some edge work? Okay, right here. See, this is a little mushy over here. And let's go ahead and see if we can. Now, since it's pastel, you definitely want to wipe it and clean it before you go and start working on your airbrush paintings. Still perpendicular and not parallel. Most of the Timisms still apply. Okay. Hey Mark, how you doing? Good to see you, sir. So we are in the final 6 minutes of tonight's live stream. Next week we will be working on, this is going to be a good one, how I start a painting in pastel with airbrush. Okay, so let's do some highlights since we're getting towards the end of the painting. So I'm going to get a very soft pastel. I believe this is Winsor & Newton if I'm not mistaken. And so watch with a softer pastel. Even though it's the same value, it shows more pigment. And I'll show you as I pull this over here. See how I could really load that pastel and it becomes much lighter. And if I zoom out, you'll see over here on her chin. See that? And then right here. Little bit of accent here and there. And let's zoom all the way out. Some highlights right here on her clavicle. And where the light is facing her most directly. And we're just going to put blasts of light right now in our last couple of minutes. And let's see, move over my reference. Okay, right here, blast of light. Right here, blast of light. Blast of light. Nice blast of light. So now we're going to get a fresh packing peanut, and we're just going to assimilate this by tapping it in like so. See that? Same thing here. Just kind of assimilate that. Some you're going to leave really specular. The more you tap, the more it becomes assimilated into the subsequent layers, the layers underneath, I should say, the previous layers. But look how I could just bring this together at the end. Thank you, Mr. John Payne and Jesus and Mark. I appreciate that. So, you know, this is a whole different way of working, but also it's still the same stuff, you know, working on the same aspects that we are doing on our Wednesday night live streams. So this is the only place where you're going to learn how to use pastel and airbrush together. And so all your skills, your wonderful skills in airbrush, now you can apply them in pastel. So definitely subscribe, because I'll be doing some during the week. I'll be doing some videos on this, so you want to know about it. And so that would be, you know, really advantageous. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Hit the like button, that would be cool. And I'm going to be doing these Saturday night live streams. And now's a good time because not many people know about them. But once the pastel people get wind of this, it's going to get crazy. So be part of it in the early stages. And Mark says, how do you protect that when it's done? The great thing about pastel is that if you put it under glass, not even framed, if you put it with the glass on top of it, that pastel will last for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it'll look like the day that it was painted, because pastel is pure pigment. There's nothing to yellow, there's nothing to crack, and whatever you do, don't spray any kind of clear on it or any kind of fixative, because then it becomes something less than what it is. So either you frame it and mat it, or just mat it straight. I have paintings that I've done in you know, 20 years that still look like the day they were painted. And so, but I never use fixative, because fixative changes the whole complexion of your piece. It darkens it. You work so hard to get it the way you want, then you're going to spray this crap on it, and it's just going to change it. In pastel, you want to stay, and also my airbrush India ink, I never use fixative. So that's just, you know, the way I was trained. Okay guys, so it looks like we made it to yes, no no handling. Yes, so pastel is great. You fall in love with it and you'll love it for the rest of your life, or you'll use it and you'll be so-so about it. But those who really, it's just something that you pick up and you just, so try it, everybody, if you haven't. The only thing I gotta warn you is that you might be working in pastels for the rest of your life. So everybody, I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for hanging out with me. You are all the best. I hope everyone stays safe, and I will talk to you on Wednesday. So Wednesday at 9:30 is the Airbrush live stream. That would be part 2 of the painting of Raquel.